On the EU spec mirrors, both are convex, and there's even a part that acts like a blind spot mirror. So it's objectively safer because you have a wider field of view, you have a smaller blind spot.
Thank you for explaining this shit, because I seen that shit. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out a video titled, "Here's why Euro-Spec cars are safer and better looking. Euro-Spec cars versus North American spec cars." I think this is a good comparison video because a lot of people may or may not know this, but a lot of cars that you see in Europe are actually not legal in the United States, and cars in the United States are not legal in Europe. All kinds of weird legal stuff, you know, but I'm aware of some of these. But let's find out about this comparison and see, you know, where I'll end up throughout this video. So thank you for watching. As usual, like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts and feedbacks in the comment section down below.
North American spec cars and European spec cars. There's a lot of differences between North American...
I know your punk ass did not get the worst American car. What about the Hellcat? What about... Whoa, where we at with the Chevrolet? Like, why we gotta take that, though? Wow, disrespectful.
Spec vehicles and European spec vehicles. And I don't mean just the size or the types of vehicles offered, but actually the legal and regulatory differences between North American spec cars and European spec cars. Okay. It's something that the average consumer probably doesn't know, but car enthusiasts know about these differences, and we often refer to EU spec or rest of world spec versus North American spec. Today I want to cover the differences between North American spec vehicles and European spec vehicles, and why I believe European spec vehicles are actually safer than North American spec vehicles because of these differences. So let's jump into it. So before moving to the Netherlands, I was used to North American spec vehicles and the look of North American spec vehicles. Things like amber parking lights, side markers, red turn signals. But actually, after living in the Netherlands and spending more time with European spec vehicles, I realized European specs are actually safer and actually better looking. You don't have the amber parking signal, you don't have amber turn signals in the rear. You know, there's a lot of these differences I'm going to jump into. So go ahead and use the chapter markers if you want to bounce around and see the differences, but I'm going to cover all of these in a bit more detail. Also, it's worth mentioning that the US and Canadian specs are pretty much the same. Canada uses kilometers and requires daytime running lights. But aside from that, basically the specs of the cars and the regulatory differences are the same between Canada and the United States. Europe has a different spec, and it's also in line with a lot of other countries that's outside of Europe, and those are the main differences that I'm going to compare today. All right, the first thing is the one that I'm the most passionate about, and that's red turn signals versus amber turn signals. The rest of the world has amber turn signals like this. It is safer, it is easier to distinguish between the brake lights and the turn signal. The rest of the world does this. In North America, red turn signals are allowed. And not just red turn signals, but actually the same light fixture that's used as the brake sometimes is used as a turn signal. In some cars, it's a separate bulb from the brake light, but they're still red. In this case, in the Mercury Grand Marquis, as you can see, it's the brake light that's flashing to be the turn signal. This has always driven me nuts, even when I lived back in the States, because it's hard to distinguish when a car is braking versus turning. You have to pay a little bit more attention because it's hard to distinguish, you know, is the red light turning on because it's...
Yeah, you got to get rid of that. That's indeed a fact. I think when I was younger, I thought it was cool, you know, to have, you know, the indicator integrated with the brake lights. But now when you're older, you're realizing that that's not necessarily a cool thing to do. It's more of a hazardous thing to do, because I can definitely press my brake and actually create that exact sequence of an indicator light easily, right? So it's a risky business messing with that.
Brakes, is it turning on because it's the turn signal?
And shout out to you for having the Florida license plate. How did I take so long to actually see that?
Sometimes bulbs are out and it's hard to tell. So I've always been passionate about this. This is how it should be. This is how the rest of the world is, and this is how it should be. But this is allowed in North America, and it's actually quite common. And I've even heard from American car people that they prefer the look of the red turn signal, even though amber is objectively safer. So the Mercury Grand Marquis, even though it's here in the Netherlands, actually has red turn signals. The Netherlands is one of the few countries in the world that does allow red turn signals. There are some European countries and other countries that do allow it. So it's one of the things I didn't have to adapt when I brought the car over here. But objectively, I believe the amber turn signal is much better. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you prefer, red turn signals or amber turn signals? There's even a whole Facebook group dedicated to this. I think a lot of people are passionate about this topic, but yeah, I believe amber turn signals are much better and much safer for drivers. The next
I
big
agree.
difference that I want to cover is amber parking lights, or side markers as they're also called. It's a bit hard to see here because in the Mercury they changed out the bulb, but in North America, most cars have an amber side marker parking light that is required as part of the headlight system. Whereas you see here on the BMW, the parking lights don't require that. And if you look at a US spec BMW 3 Series, there's a big amber side marker light here, which I think is quite ugly.
It is.
It's a look that I was used to back when I lived in the States, but actually after living abroad, I realized this is a much cleaner look. And actually, what value does that amber side marker light add? I don't think it's necessary. Much cleaner look. Here on the Mercury, they converted the light to white, but it was an amber parking light, the same here. But yeah, it's just a difference that I don't think is necessary, and I think the European spec looks a lot better than North American spec. The next big difference is side turn signal indicators. So the EU and pretty much the rest of the world require side turn signal indicators. Most of the time they're integrated in a mirror like this now, but back in the day they used to be side mounted on the fender like you see on the Mercury here. North America doesn't require this, and to me this is a key safety feature because when you're driving alongside a car and you want to know if that car is going to be moving into your lane.
Yeah, he's right. He's so right. I actually never remembered that older cars indeed had a little thing on the side of the car for real. It's rare to find old cars either ways in the time of that we're living in. But now remembering, yeah, older cars indeed did have a little light at the side of the car for real. But I never knew that it was a standard in Europe for you to have the turn signals on the mirror. I had no idea. I just thought car companies were like, yeah, this is a good idea, so let's just do it, but hey, the more you know.
You can't see the front and rear turn signals if they're signaling their lane change. Side marker indicators are key, and really key is safety feature. Nowadays, most new cars in the US do have side marker indicators on the mirrors because it's kind of seen as a luxury feature, and I think it's something that the European brands kind of influence in the North American market.
Indeed.
And actually, if you look at something like a Toyota Corolla or a Hyundai in the US, by default, they don't have the side marker turn signals, but higher end trims do because it's kind of seen as a luxury feature because of the European brand influence in North America. But I do think this is a really key safety feature that should be required on all vehicles around the world, and it surprises me that in North America it's not a safety requirement, it's not a required feature at all. Next thing I want to cover is rear fog lights. So in the EU and most other markets around the world, rear fog lights are a required feature or are just featured on cars.
Right.
And they're usually on the driver's side or the center point of the vehicle. In this case on the 3 Series, it's just on the driver's side. Personally, I would prefer if it was on both sides. But this helps with rearward visibility in poor conditions such as fog or heavy rain. And this is a really key safety feature.
Yeah, I'm telling you, since I've lived in Finland, it's really dark, and I've actually driven, and I actually turn the rear fog lights on whenever I'm on a dark road because it actually helps you, if you're one of those type of drivers who are actually, observing your surroundings and you're, checking out what's going on behind you every now and then, it helps you a lot. The rear fog lights, I ain't gonna hold you. I never thought a day would come where I actually be like, oh yeah, rear fog lights, definitely important. Yeah, but the brake light is nothing compared to the rear fog lights when it comes to, the amount of light that, you can get behind you. So yeah, it's very good, but it's quite unfortunate that this BMW only has one rather than two, and the location is maybe not the best in my opinion. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm tweaking, maybe it is okay, but
that I wish was available or actually required in the United States and Canada, because I've been in many situations in Florida in really heavy rain where you can't see very far in front of you, you can't see the car in front of you. And what people in Florida do are put on their hazard lights so you can improve the visibility, which is illegal and is kind of a dumb workaround. Rear fog lights solve that problem. This is something that should be standard in the US and Canada. And actually on European brand cars in the US and Canada, they do offer the feature. They actually just ship it there anyway. It's not required, but they leave the configuration as is, and they have the rear fog lights. And the funny thing that I see is people don't know how to use rear fog lights in the US and Canada. You can see some B-roll footage here of cars in Canada driving around with rear fog lights on in normal conditions, because actually I believe that people don't know the difference between the buttons and they think that these are regular fog lights, but they're actually rear fog lights being misused.
Indeed.
So it's really funny to me, but I think if there was education and regulatory requirements in the United States and Canada for rear fog lights.
The truth is, there's none, because I didn't know that rear fog lights existed until I moved to Finland. I did not know that. I didn't know because I went to the driving school and I was like, so this light on the, the, what is it called again? The little thing that turns the lights on and off, right? I was like, yo, so this actually is for the front and this is for the rear. What? I had no idea there was even a thing known as rear fog lights. I knew there was front, obviously, but I didn't know that rears existed.
People would use them and it would improve safety in poor visibility conditions. The next difference I want to cover is something that I notice each time that I'm switching between this vehicle and the BMW, is the side mirrors. And this was something I didn't even really know about before living here. So in North America, the side mirrors on cars are a little bit different. The driver's side is pretty flat and the passenger side is a bit more convex, but then it has this text in it that you see, objects in mirror are closer than they appear. So you have different focal lengths for each of the mirrors. On the passenger side, it helps with the blind spot and side visibility, but on the driver's side, it's quite flat and you have a pretty big blind spot. On the EU-Spec mirrors, both are convex and there's even a part that acts like a blind spot mirror. So it's objectively safer because you have a wider field of view, you have a smaller blind spot. The problem.
Thank you for explaining this shit, because I seen that shit. And I seen a freaking line in the mirror, boom, and I don't know what it is. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is, right? But now I'm actually learning what it actually is. So quite interesting, to actually have. I'm pretty blessed, in a sense, to actually experience both, because I can relate, and there are certain things that I didn't even, he's literally clarifying that to me and I didn't even know. But that is actually indeed a fact. It's not just, you're like probably, oh, he's just selected, this BMW has it. No, I've seen it on probably every single vehicle that I've seen in Finland. Probably just not the older vehicle, obviously, right? But yeah, that line is indeed there.
The problem is the image is wider and the vehicles are a little bit smaller, which affects your perception of the size.
Indeed.
And so in North America, they only allow that on the passenger side, which to me, it's a safety thing. If you allow it on both sides of the car, you have better field of view, smaller blind spot, and it's objectively safe. Next difference is license plates, and you can see American and Canadian style license plates are a lot smaller. In some cars, they look okay, like this Grand Marquis was obviously
Hold on, wait. It was Florida a minute ago. What happened?
designed for the smaller license plate, but in some other cars, this small format doesn't look very good. It doesn't complement the design of cars very well. And in my opinion, actually, the American and Canadian size license plate is a little bit less safe because the characters are smaller. You can see over here, if I were to take a Florida license plate and put it on a BMW 3 Series, which is probably the first time this has been done, you can see how small it is in comparison to the Dutch license plate. The letters are a lot smaller. It's harder to see from further back. And actually, I think the Dutch license...
And no offense, to the American license plate, seeing them both in a comparison, you can easily see black on yellow, easily. White on green is, like, that's the reason why New York license plate comes in the same color as well, not all New York license plate, for crying out loud. America has so many different variants of designs in license plate, but the normal, regular, most common New York license plate is indeed black and yellow. But you can see that clearly it's so much easier to see the details on the license plate, the number and so on and so forth. But I ain't gonna hold you. The look of this license plate, the wider version, it looks a little bit neater to me, actually. It looks a little bit neater to me. That's what I'm seeing right now. And I didn't actually, rock with the European license plate way more than the United States. But now I'm kind of, getting hooked on it because it actually looks way better on the car compared to like what he had. Like, look at this. Like, it looks a little bit like just like a sticker, bam, right? But when you have the wider piece, it just looks like a nice, it just looks better to me, actually. Kind of crazy.
Which is probably the first time this has been done. You can see how small it is in comparison to the Dutch license plate. The letters are a lot smaller. It's harder to see from further back. And actually, I think the Dutch license plate and the kind of European style wide license plate complements the look of the car a little bit better. especially in the front. So I think it's safer and it just looks better to have the European style license plates. Now this varies a lot. Different countries have different regulations about license plate sizes. I'm not going to go into all of those details, but let me know what you prefer. Do you prefer the European style license plates or do you prefer the American style license plate? Let me know in the comments below. Ultimately, I do wish that the regulations would align from North America to the rest of the world, because that would actually allow for European spec vehicles and other vehicles that are currently not sold in the North American market to actually be sold there, because the regulations would align and that would be allowed. But until those regulations align, which I don't think that'll ever happen, we'll have differences between North American spec vehicles and European and rest of the world spec vehicles. So that's pretty much it. Those are the main differences I wanted to cover between EU spec vehicles and North American spec vehicles. Like I said from the beginning, I prefer the look and safety features of European spec vehicles, but there are also some features I didn't cover in North American spec vehicles that are nice, like remote start, how some states don't require front license plates, different safety features, and there's a lot of other...
I ain't gonna hold you though. Not requiring a front license plate kind of sucks in a sense because it's just empty. But I don't know. I don't really see any benefits in that. You know, sometimes you can't even identify where that car is coming from when it's coming straight ahead. You got to wait until it goes by to see the rear end of it. So I don't really, you know.
Differences that you can't see, such as suspension differences, tire differences. I can't cover all of those in one video, but these were the things that I wanted to cover that you can really see when you look at the two different vehicles, and those are the differences that I like on the European spec vehicles. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy, bro. Valid point, valid point, valid point. Y'all can let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below, but I learned a lot today, and I had questions. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've many times looked in the mirror in Finland, and I'm trying to figure out why the hell is that line there? What is this about? Like, can we just be real? Like, yeah. So I'm actually happy that I saw this video. It really cleared up a lot for me, and yeah. I'd imagine that the Europeans already know this. So yeah, hats off to you guys. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I'm out of here. Peace.